Things that you love might not work out. The peak of being an artist was the game placement came, I just put everything into making samples.
Today, I sat down with Walden and he told us all the sacrifices that it took for him to make it in the industry.
My father was in a touring band for 20 years. Um, so seeing him play music, and it was not, at first, it wasn't so much the music as the way that even at these smaller venues, smaller places, the way the man just had control over the audience. He had them in the palm of his hand at all times. And it was the coolest thing. It was the coolest thing in the world to me, like seeing that like as a kid. He and I learned how to work digital audio like together because he was coming from analog to tape, like all of that. So like that's where the love for music and recording and being an artist came from.
Did you feel like you had to kind of follow in your father's footsteps when you just saw how he captured the audience and how he was doing all of that?
It wasn't like something I felt like I needed to do, but like the guy was my hero. So like it just naturally kind of happened. In addition to that, seeing guys like Kanye, guys like Drake, at the beginning when he was doing rapping and singing was just another entire layer of like, oh, okay, like I want to do this because like I do both of those things. So these people are letting me know that that's okay. So let me go for it.
Amazing. And how did the story kind of continue chronologically? Like when did you, for example, officially release your first song?
So the first time I released something was at 13. I made a MySpace music page. After that, I went on a serious run, um, doing these terrible like auto tune, like cover remixes, whatever you want to call it. And it all just kind of progressed like through there. Like I think everybody expected me to stop after we graduated high school, but it was actually kind of the opposite. Now that like I was an adult and like out in the world, I could go and find my way into more opportunities. So I got in contact with like a local with the local like booking company that booked opening acts for big touring artists. And I went on a tear where I was opening for everybody that was coming to town in 2015 and 2016. The peak of being an artist was March of 2018. The biggest venue that you can book here in Pittsburgh and like perform at outside of like the big pavilion where like your Post Malones and your Taylor Swifts go, is a place called Stage AE. And I was asked to headline a show in that place. And we sold it out, and it plateaued. Being an artist plateaued there.
Like generally, how were your feelings around that time?
It was like the day after that show was like the day after Christmas. It was like you were waiting, and like there's so much hype for this one thing, and then it happens and it's awesome, but then it's like, well, now what? But then people started asking me to like record them and like engineer and like mix and master their stuff. So I kind of found out I had legs there. And then eventually through doing that, teaching myself piano because I didn't play, and kind of the mixing and like recording and mastering people kind of just turned into producing kind of on accident.
That must have been an extremely tough decision to be like so brutally honest with yourself, and then also to move on from a thing you spent more than 10 years, I think, on.
I was feeling it, but it took a really long time to, act on it because, I do get sentimental. I have those memories associated with, making music with my dad and like writing music with my dad and everything. But I think that ultimately to get back to a place to ultimately fulfill what he and I used to talk about all the time, what we wanted, I had to look in the mirror and I had to make a change and I had to adapt to my circumstance. I sent and submitted samples that I was making on the side to Waves to try to get on the website. And I uploaded my first sample pack. A couple people downloaded like some samples and messaged me on Instagram, and I was like, oh, I can make money doing this thing. This version of my creativity has value to other people. I just took a leap of faith, man. I stopped recording people. I stopped like doing sessions and everything, and I just put everything into making samples. It was just a leap of faith. And I was never a top tier singer, but I understood how to write a good melody because at one point in time, that's all I had. The game placement came to be from an Instagram ad that I was running for my sample pack, Spheres 3. Producer heard that sample and said, hey, there's a vocal for this song that I'm working on that I would love for you to recut because of the way that the sample Perspective My Love sounded. I sent versions back and forth. It was kind of getting to the point where I was like, I started at noon and I sent probably a fourth or fifth version back at 10 p.m. later that night, and we still weren't really there with it. I did probably 17 takes after taking in all of like the notes that I got back from the producer and just looped and spliced stuff together and then sent it back. And I didn't hear anything for about 2 weeks. So I was just figuring I was like, it wasn't good enough. But then the Wednesday before the record came out, they told me, hey, we got one. It's on there. And I was like, it was fulfilling. Because it was great. It feels great. It just let me know that, okay, I'm here. Things that you love might not work out, but that doesn't mean that there's not like an alternative way to find your way to that thing. That thing might just not work right now.